Remember when I said that every time McFarlane farted, an entire forest would grow in that exact area? Remember when I said that Christopher Nolan should direct a movie based on Todd McFarlane's life? Remember when I said that I named my last child Todd McFarlane? Well, I take it all back, guys, because every time that I am 100% pro McFarlane, he does some absolute nonsense. I don't even know if this is reality. Do we live in the Matrix? Am I not a human? Am I a reptilian of some kind? I just don't understand why McFarlane continues to incessantly bash us on the head every time that we think that he's doing right by the consumer, that he's releasing some absolute fire. He does something like this. Now, it's not the end of the world. I completely understand. I know there will be plenty of people where their argument basically relies on, if you like it, buy it. If don't, just be quiet. But I'm just not that kind of content creator. If there's something that really bothers me, I'm going to speak out. And this particular wave, even though I am very excited about a couple of features here, there just isn't enough for me to really excuse what McFarlane is doing here. Now, I'll start off with the Penguin action figure because that one is the one that hurts my soul the most. We're talking about a Penguin action figure that is supposed to have like a classic design. There is an alternate version, which I guess is like the Chase Platinum edition. That one comes in completely different colors, which is even a more classic design on it. Like I said, it hurts my insides because this is a figure that a lot of us, and I'll include myself, this is a figure that we've been wanting for quite some time. He's one of those few Batman villains that we have yet to receive from McFarlane. Now, from my understanding, and at least from looking at the figure through and through, it seems like this is all brand new sculpt work, which is, I'm assuming, where McFarlane gets this price point from. It almost seems like you have to pay extra. It's kind of like when you go to a convention, or for example, if you've ever been to like Universal Studios in Hollywood, where you have to pay like an extra $20-$30 just to get in an hour early to get some extra time at the Super Nintendo World there. It feels somewhat similar with McFarlane. He's almost charging a premium for every new sculpt that he's releasing. If you want this sculpt, and I'm assuming he's gonna re-release it sometime later with like a newer paint job, and he's gonna name it like a video game version of Penguin. It seems like if you want a brand new sculpt, you're going to have to pay that extra premium. If you're willing to wait, I guess you'll get maybe a repaint later, but it's just not going to be the same. That's how I feel that McFarlane is conducting business at this point. And honestly, it's getting really old. Not to mention the body sculpt looks a little bit weird. That lower half of the torso just looks kind of big and bulky. I'm not sure how the articulation is going to work here, but it really doesn't matter because, let's be honest, this is a Penguin figure. I mean, his posability is never really going to come into question. It's not a figure that requires an insane amount of articulation, but it's worth noting you're only getting the figure, the card stand, 4 hands total, and the umbrella. That's it. That's all you're getting for that $29.99 price point. It seems like more of a figure that should cost that $22.99 price point. I'm not sure where the extra value is added. The only thing that I can think of, as I mentioned, is potentially that he is making people pay a premium to have the body molds first, which, like I said, really shady work from McFarlane. Next up, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Starfire figure, and again, very similar to the Penguin action figure. It is incredibly lacking in accessories. It only comes with 2 effect pieces that port onto either hand, and if you want the Chase variant or the Platinum edition from McFarlane, it will be Blackfire, who is Starfire's sister. From what I can tell and from what I've been reading, it appears it's the exact same body mold, aside from the, a brand new paint job. But just very interesting for him to make the Platinum edition a character that is different from the original figure. So just a really interesting decision overall. It's going to be a very, very difficult figure to find, just because, as I said, it is a new character. It's not just a repaint or a slightly different paint job on the figure. Really interesting for him to do that. But again, you're paying that $30 price point for the 2 extra effect pieces and then the action figure stand. And from all the images that I could see, it doesn't appear to come with anything else. So that $30 price point is really going to hurt. As I mentioned, it is really, really lacking in accessories. And by the way, we've seen that action figure stand be shopped around at that $22.99 price point. We've gotten Supermans, for example, with that exact same stand for a much, much lower price. So I'm not sure where he's doing the math or how exactly this works, but as a consumer, consumer, this one to me is just like a slap across the face for collectors. Now we are getting a Captain Boomerang figure, which might be the only saving grace from this entire wave. It does come with a soft goods jacket as well as a soft goods scarf, which may or may not have a wire running through it. It appears, at least in my personal opinion, that there is. So both the jacket and the scarf will have a wire running through it, which obviously, I've said this before, but it just adds a different layer of posability to these figures. It is also worth mentioning the figure will come with 2 boomerang accessories, 6 hands total, and then that ridiculous action figure stand that they continue pushing. The Platinum Edition, or the Chase variant that they're going to release for this figure, is the exact same figure, just in a lighter blue, much lighter. I don't know if that color tone is based on anything specific, but at least in my personal, or at least from what I can remember, I don't think I've ever seen this in like a series or a comic book run. This might just be something that McFarlane did to kind of give the consumers different options when it comes down to the blue color tone. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's more expensive for OMs to consider making their figures with soft goods rather than hard plastic. I'm not sure if that's true. That just seems to be something that people regurgitate over and over. I'm just going to take their word for it. Yes, maybe soft plastic is a little bit more expensive to deal with. So I guess maybe this particular figure makes sense in the collector's edition line at that $30 price point. I honestly couldn't tell you, but if we're going to consider those a part of the cost, you're taking into consideration the jacket, the scarf, the 6 hands total, and then the card stand. I guess you're kind of getting closer to that collector's edition line price point. But even then, as a wave, I think this is incredibly weak. It's also incredibly interesting considering the fact that this entire line has received just a plethora of criticism. You would think that he would try to kind of make some adjustments here or there, or maybe bump some of these figures down to just normal multiverse releases, but he's kind of doubled down and now he's releasing 2 figures, potentially maybe even 3. I mean, that Captain Boomerang figure, like I said, I'm going to just trust the people on it and just assume that cloth goods are much more expensive than hard plastic, in which case I guess it would be considered a part of the collector's edition line. But there's at least 2 figures on here that just don't belong at that price point. But again, just my personal opinion, I feel like McFarlane is just pushing his luck and then trying to see what he can get away with, and making you pay a premium for getting body molds first or getting characters first before everybody else that is just looking to pay the $22.99 price point. But like I said, that's just my personal opinion. That's my personal take on this entire situation. I do plan on making a video that goes more in depth into what is happening with the availability of McFarlane action figures. It seems like a lot of his pre-orders are selling out, but I don't think it's as simple as people make it seem. I don't think it's as simple as saying that the demand is way up there. I do believe that there's a little bit more to it, so I will be making a separate video where I kind of dive into it, but I'll leave it there for now. I tend to ramble a lot and people really don't like that. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, make sure to stay tuned. We have a crazy amount of content coming at you guys, so definitely stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.